transformation and driven by unstoppable wave of technological innovation, from the rise of mobile banking as well as digital payments to the emergence of blockchain as well as artificial intelligence. Technology is definitely not no longer just a tool for certain industry. It's very much valuable in all the industries. This mix of finance and technology, known as fintech and insurtech, is redefining what is possible and democratizing access to services and forging a future where financial empowerment is within reach for more people than ever before. We'll be looking at things like lessons from core banking modernization and digital enablement projects, the future of fintech, insurance, and digital banking in Africa, as well as balancing regulations, compliance, and innovation in financial services. Now, I'm joined by Sibongile, who is joining me in studio to unpack all of this and so much more. Good morning, and thank you so much for coming through.
Good morning, Puleng, and thank you so much for having me.
It is Sibongile Martino, who is founder and CEO of Indoni Strategies and head of ICT Dynamic podcast. So you're a broadcaster like me.
Yes, we try. We've got a podcast and we try. Our mission really is to bring the spotlight on women in ICT and celebrate their stories, because they are dynamic and they are powerhouses.
Yeah. You have an event that's coming up. We're going to touch on that a little bit later on in the show, but I want us to start here, building up to that. What is the single most important lesson that you feel that traditional bank have learned from the recent digital transformation projects?
Sure. One of the biggest things is that from a banking perspective and just financial services is that we've realized that digital transformation is not about tech. It's literally about taking people with you. It's about the customer. It's no longer just putting a platform out there and saying, now use this. It's about connecting with the customer. So our focus has been on creating customer journeys and understanding them. So the touch point, where does it start, and where does it end for the customer? And also making sure that we understand their pain points. I think that's what digital transformation has done for us. The space in digital has made sure that we now understand the pain points of the customer and saying, pain points.
What are pain points?
Pain points is
complaints.
Take your app, right? So take your journey from end to end. So you are now a customer of the bank. You open your account. You now start transacting with us. But then it gets to a point where you're saying, I'm trying to send Puleng money, or I'm trying to send Sibongile money. Why am I, why do I get to a point where I'm now frustrated because the money is not going through? So we then get into our processes and say, how can we make life better for our customer? So it's helped us now understand the frustration. Whereas if you were standing in a branch, you're standing there for an hour,
sometimes we'd sit there for an hour.
Exactly.
40 minutes.
Yeah. And now we are able to pick up that that's not the best customer service that we can give. So we then turn to looking at the analytics. We look at the data and we're saying, let's fix this customer journey. Let us fix how you secure finance, how you have access to finance, how we build your digital footprint. Because remember, about almost 40% or more of South Africans are unbanked. And people are saying, I don't want to go to a bank. I'd rather take my money under the mattress and can carry on with my life.
40%?
Yeah, even more.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
And okay, so can you give us a specific example of core banking modernization project that then have successfully? I mean, you spoke about data being able to enable banks to be able to understand the customer pain points. And so I want to look at other means that modernization and technology has been able to successfully improve customer experience.
So I think when we talk about, core banking, It's
Yeah.
very important that we remember that we are dealing with legacy systems that we are trying to improve because, these systems were built and there's customer data. So we always, when we're in these projects, especially large data projects or large digital transformation projects, we always say, we don't want to break the bank. And that really means that we are now getting into a space where when we do employ new technologies, we don't want to break the bank. We don't want you to be without the app. We don't want you not to have access to banking. So when we look at current banks, so if we, for instance, maybe let's take Capitec. Capitec, one thing that they did was that they understood that they were serving the underbanked or not banked, the underserviced customer. So they then created platforms that enable customers to transact, to lend, and be able to then build their portfolio. So one could argue they didn't have to deal with the legacy system, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then we look at your other big four, your standard banks, your ABSAs, and they are trying now to say, I am talking to my portfolio of your Gen Z, I'm talking to your Gen X, but at the same time, I'm now dealing with, the newer generation, your Gen Zs. And how do we connect with them? Also, the world has moved, it's digital. You might have noticed that some branches closed down because we said, does brick and mortar really work? Other branches, we took away the capability maybe of having a teller, and however, in understanding the customer, the focus was on how do we make sure that the customer still feels heard and their needs are met.
Yeah.
It's not always right. It's not rocket science. It's not a silver bullet. However, what we are seeing in the banking industry is that they are modernizing their processes, their systems. So think 2 years ago, you still had to go to a branch. Now you can open up your account online. You can transact online. And you can even talk to a banker online. You don't have to pick up the phone. You can send a secure chat. I mean, I love the efficiency and speed at which FNB does, respond, because you send a secure chat, you're talking to a banker, and you're saying, I've got a problem. My e-wallet has gone missing. And they're able to then respond sharply and quickly. So this is just a pure example and I think testament to how banks have now really modernized their systems, even though they still have the headache of dealing with legacy systems.
You spoke about that 40% of South Africans that are still unbanked. How can then the digital banking and the fintech solutions be able to help solve the issue of this financial exclusion? Maybe open it up to the continent.
I mean, let's start from grassroots. What are people afraid of? When I did my research and wrote my paper on digital marketing or digital finance, I really went in. I went into Soweto. I went into Mamelodi. I went into Transkop. I really tried to understand, why are people afraid of digital finance? Why are we not into fintech? And there are reasons that make it, very clear that we are missing something here. One, people do not trust digital. There's a security issue. I'm now Sibongile. I'm putting all my information here on this app. Who's sitting on the other side looking at my information? What are they doing with it? And then there's the other issue of the economy. I other apps such as your fintech apps, especially the payment apps.
Yeah.
If I'm an entrepreneur and I'm running my business, I have to pay 2% or close to 2 to 7% of what I'm getting income to the to the service provider. So it then becomes very difficult because we live from hand to mouth. Most people live from hand to mouth. Take a mama who is running her spaza shop. And I get there and I say, Mama, I want to tap or I want to swipe. For her to get that money, she still needs to pay a 2% fee. So she then says, no, I only want cash because then I can deal with cash.
Yeah.
So 90% of Africa, of the continent, of the markets are still running on cash. I know a lot of people will say, no, that's not accurate. When you then go down and you understand the imperative and what it means for the continent to deal with cash, something I can see, I can then feed my family. And that is why we still have an unbanked society. How can we help them? Educating society on the importance of now getting on digital. You know, a lot of people will say we're in the fourth industrial revolution. I always say that ship has long passed. We are living in that in that revolution. So we need to educate. We need to give assurance that this is what you need. I often talk about having digital presence. You need a digital footprint as a person, because you can no longer walk into a bank with a wad of papers and say, this is me. They want to be able to get onto the computer and say, okay, we see.
Yeah.
We see what you've done. So educate, give assurance that your data is safe, and take people with you. Don't just employ our apps change every day. Don't just employ something new without talking to people.
I literally woke up 2 days ago and my phone software had updated itself and there was just these new changes. I'm like, even when you are sleeping,
right?
Without you, it will. I'm just like, what? Whose phone did I wake up to now? It's insane.
Because it is on auto update, and the updates are really important, because if you don't have, remember we have, there's the bright side, and then there's the dark side of the web. There's a dark side of digital. So why do we then keep on giving you new versions? It's because now we've realized that there might be a
people are
loophole.
figuring out that
And
one.
we face so much attacks per second across the world, And when you see that update, look through it, look at your terms and conditions, and then if you're comfortable, then accept. Because the organizations behind that, your banks, your insurance companies, they are protecting you and your data. Even your iPhones, your mobile companies, they are protecting you and your data. Yeah.
Well, you speak about we are already in that revolution. The fourth, is it the fourth or the fifth?
We say fourth and fifth.
Yeah, we're already in the fifth
in the fifth, yeah.
revolution.
Yeah.
Where do you see then the biggest growth opportunities for fintech in the continent, looking into 5 years from now?
Sure. I mean, if I look at the continent, we have, because of the challenges that we have, right, we now get to invent, reinvent, and change the script. So if you look at the likes of M-Pesa, it started off like that, sending mobile money. I can do that. We have so much more that we can do from a fintech perspective. And for me, it starts off by, how do we bank the entrepreneurs in the space?
Yeah.
So take entrepreneurs that are still, looking at tech and saying, I don't think I want to adopt this. We can come up with solutions that make the ecosystem better. And what do I mean by that? Look at how the ecosystem works. From the time you wake up in the morning, you're going to catch a taxi, and there's someone selling a makwenya, and you're saying, I need breakfast. There's someone selling cold drink or coffee. How do we then build that ecosystem? So that is one part in which you can say, let's make it easier for entrepreneurs to transact with their customers.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're looking at insurtech, right? So you're saying, I want to get insurance, but you don't want to go through the papers, etc. And we understand our community. We're saying, does Sibongile understand what it means to take life insurance and what that means, or a funeral plan? InsurTech is really making it easier for us to do that. AI is helping us understand. We feed into it, right? We give it input and we're saying, refine your thoughts. But because now we've shrunk and democratized the world of fintech, we're now getting to a space where people start understanding, what product am I buying? Why am I buying it? Whom is it servicing? So we need to take entrepreneurs with us, particularly because, I mean, they contribute more than 60% towards GDP. So why not take them with you? Why are we losing? Why is there a vacuum of, I'll say, money that we're not seeing, revenue? It's because it's sitting with the unbanked. So we need to bring the people with us. Understand. Town halls are very important. We've lost that in our communities. Get into a hall, do a road show, educate people, but also let's look at the costs. How do we bring the costs down for them to adopt? Yeah.
You know, we can discuss this until the show's over, and even hours after that, until the end of the day.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
there's also a reason why you are here. So I'm going to have to get to that, right?
Yes.
So you have the ICT Dynamic Women Luncheon happening on the 31st of August. Tell me a bit about it.
So the ICT Dynamic Women Luncheon was born out of the passion of celebrating women in ICT. So oftentimes we talk about how ICT is male dominated. We're not seeing women in these spaces. And we thought, hold on, we know women in these spaces, me being one, and my fellow females, my fellow women colleagues that have been challenging the status quo. They always say that's my favorite term. And I say from the age of 18, I always said I want to challenge the status quo. Women are there, Puleng. They are doing amazing things. We have inventors, we have developers, we have people that women that walk into boardrooms and really make changes. So some of the companies, the changes that we see in those companies are spearheaded by women. So we wanted to take the conversation away from just Women's Month, just August, and say, how do we expand that? So last year, then the luncheon, we launched that, and we were humbled by just, the reception that we got. People showed up, and we always say our guests need to leave with something. So it's not technical. It's about how do we celebrate you as a brand. Have you always seen how you get to month 6, end of H1, and you say, my KPI said I need to do this. How am I faring? We are now taking away from that, and we're saying, but your career in itself is your brand. You've built this brand. So why not showcase it to the world? And that's how the luncheon was born. This year, it's our 2nd edition of the annual luncheon. I personally, I am very excited. We have amazing panelists. We have amazing entertainment. And not only that, we get to talk about women in ICT. We talk about, Mona is joining us from a wellness perspective. How do you ensure that as you are running these 17-hour days, how do you then balance, because we need a work-life balance. We talk about it, we throw those words out there, but I really believe that it's very important. We will be channeling women that are coming from spaces that are from telco, insurance, one from edutech. I mean, Naledi is coming through as one of our panelists. She's the founder and CEO of Paideia Institute Learning. And we want to really talk about that, about how women are, coming in and really providing and also changing the narrative around what it means to be a woman in ICT. So the 31st, it's on. We are there. It's a day of celebration. It's a day of having conversations about the industry itself. What are the challenges? How can we break the barriers? I always say, I no longer want to hear.
I can tell that you are a podcaster.
Yes.
You are like running away with it. I'm like, girl.
Yes.
Time. All right, so let's quickly share your social media handles. That way our listeners are able to get more information as well.
Okay, definitely. So it's the ICT Dynamic Women Luncheon.
Yeah.
That's also on Instagram and LinkedIn. Indoni Strategies on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So we are on all social media pages. So if you just go ICT Dynamic Women or Indoni Strategies or Terrific, that's where you will find us.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through. All the best with your event next weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, Puleng. It's been phenomenal.
It's my guest, Sibongile Martino, is founder and CEO of Indoni Strategies, as well as host of ICT Dynamic podcast. We have to quickly take a song. We have the next guest who's on standby. We get into the world of animation. This is just to kind of give you an opportunity to digest all of this information that we've been sharing. Prepare for the next one while you edit.
On Tech Africa.